RPD, the first light machine gun for the intermediate cartridge, an American military expert's perspective. Introduction. When military historians discuss the evolution of infantry weapons, the conversation often gravitates towards iconic rifles like the AK-47 or influential machine guns like the M60. Yet, beneath the surface of global arms history lies an often underappreciated design, the Ruchnoi Pulemiot Degtyarovo, RPD, developed during the final years of the Second World War by Vasily Degtyarov. The RPD occupies a unique niche as the world's first purpose-built light machine gun chambered for an intermediate cartridge. In the pantheon of Soviet small arms, it served as a critical evolutionary step, bridging the era of full-power rifle-caliber machine guns and the new generation of squad-level automatic weapons optimized for modern maneuver warfare. From an American military expert's point of view, the RPD is fascinating because it represents a divergence from Western thinking of the late 1940s and early 1950s. At the time, the United States remained committed to full-power cartridges like the .3006 Springfield and later the 7.62X 51mm NATO, which emphasized range and power over controllability. The Soviets, in contrast, were already embracing the 7.62X 39mm intermediate cartridge, seeking weapons that could balance firepower with portability, accuracy, and controllable automatic fire. The RPD was the first true squad automatic weapon designed for this philosophy, a weapon that foreshadowed the global trend towards lighter, faster firing, and more mobile small arms. In this essay, I will analyze the RPD from several angles: its development history, technical design, battlefield performance, role in Soviet doctrine, comparison to Western equivalents, and its enduring legacy in conflicts across the world. By doing so, I aim to demonstrate why the RPD, though often overshadowed by the AK-47 and later Soviet machine guns, deserves recognition as a groundbreaking weapon that helped redefine infantry firepower. Origins of the RPD. The origins of the RPD are inseparable from the Soviet Union's decision to adopt the 7.62 by 39mm M43 cartridge. Introduced in 1943, the M43 round was the Soviet answer to lessons learned in World War II. Most infantry engagements occurred within 300 meters, not at 800 to 1,000 meters as once imagined. As a result, full-power rifle cartridges like the 7.62 by 54mm R were unnecessarily heavy and produced excessive recoil, limiting sustained automatic fire. The Soviets thus embarked on a new family of small arms around the M43 cartridge, the SKS semi-automatic carbine, the AK-47 assault rifle, and the RPD light machine gun. Vasily Degtyarovo, by then the Soviet Union's most respected arms designer, was tasked with creating a belt-fed weapon that could serve as the squad's base of fire. His experience with the DP-28 light machine gun and its wartime derivatives made him the natural choice. Work began in 1943, and after years of development and refinement, the RPD was officially adopted in 1948. Though the weapon missed World War II service, it would go on to play a central role in the early Cold War and numerous proxy wars that defined the second half of the 20th century. From an American military expert's point of view, the RPD is fascinating because it represents a divergence from Western thinking of the late 1940s and early 1950s. At the time, the United States remained committed to full-power cartridges like the .3006 Springfield and later the 7.62X 51mm NATO, which emphasized range and power over controllability. The Soviets, in contrast, were already embracing the 7.62X 39mm intermediate cartridge, seeking weapons that could balance firepower with portability, accuracy, and controllable automatic fire. The RPD was the first true squad automatic weapon designed for this philosophy, a weapon that foreshadowed the global trend towards lighter, faster firing, and more mobile small arms. Technical design. At first glance, the RPD resembles a hybrid between the DP-28 and the later PK machine gun, yet upon closer inspection, its design reflects both innovation and compromise. Cartridge and feeding system. The RPD is chambered for the 7.62 by 39 mm intermediate cartridge. Unlike the DP-28 with its pan magazine, the RPD uses a non-disintegrating metallic belt usually contained in a drum-like carrier that attaches beneath the receiver. Each belt typically holds 100 rounds, giving the gunner sustained firepower without the bulk and awkwardness of a top-mounted magazine. Operating mechanism. The RPD operates via a long-stroke gas piston system with a tilting bolt, mechanisms familiar to Soviet designs of the era. The weapon fires from an open bolt, which improves cooling during sustained fire. Barrel and cooling. One notable drawback is the non-quick-change barrel. Unlike Western machine guns such as the 1919 Browning or later the M60, the RPD's barrel cannot be swapped out rapidly in combat. This means gunners must manage rates of fire carefully to avoid overheating. Soviet doctrine mitigated this by assigning assistant gunners with spare barrels and emphasizing short bursts over prolonged automatic fire. Weight and handling. At about 7.4 kilograms or 16 pounds unloaded, the RPD is significantly lighter than earlier rifle-caliber machine guns. It's air-cooled and equipped with a bipod, making it a true squad-level automatic weapon designed for mobility. Rate of fire and performance. The RPD has a cyclic rate of about 650 rounds per minute, though practical rates are closer to 100 to 150 rounds per minute in combat. Effective range is around 600 meters, matching its role as a support weapon rather than a long-range machine gun. From a technical standpoint, the RPD was remarkably advanced for its time. It provided Soviet infantry with high-volume firepower in a weapon light enough to accompany maneuver units, an ideal complement to the AK-47. Battlefield role and Soviet doctrine. In Soviet squad doctrine of the 1950s and 1960s, the RPD served as the primary automatic weapon. Each squad was typically organized around one RPD gunner, supported by riflemen armed with AKs or SKSs. The gunner laid down suppressive fire, enabling maneuver by the rest of the squad. This was a clear departure from earlier doctrine that relied heavily on the DP-28 or heavier crew-served weapons. The RPD's portability and belt-fed design allowed it to sustain more fire than magazine-fed rifles, giving Soviet squads a significant boost in organic firepower. In practice, the RPD proved reliable and durable under harsh conditions. It saw widespread service in the Korean War, where U.S. and UN troops frequently encountered it in the hands of Chinese and North Korean forces. Later, during the Vietnam War, the RPD became a mainstay of Viet Cong and North Vietnamese army units. American soldiers often commented on its distinctive sound and the difficulty of facing squads with belt-fed firepower at the squad level. From the U.S. perspective, this was a stark contrast to American squads, which typically relied on the M14 rifle or later the M16 supported by the heavier and more cumbersome M60 machine gun. The RPD demonstrated the effectiveness of intermediate caliber belt-fed weapons long before the U.S. introduced the M249 SAW in the 1980s. Comparison with Western equivalents. To fully appreciate the RPD, it is essential to compare it to Western light machine guns of its era. Browning Automatic Rifle, BAR. The BAR was the closest U.S. equivalent during the early Cold War. Chambered in .3006, the BAR was heavy, magazine-fed, and not well suited for prolonged automatic fire. The RPD, with its belt feed and lighter cartridge, was far superior in sustained firepower and controllability. M60 machine gun. Introduced in the late 1950s, the M60 represented America's attempt at a general-purpose machine gun. While more powerful than the RPD, thanks to its 7.62x 51mm NATO chambering, the M60 was also heavier and more maintenance-intensive. In contrast, the RPD was simpler, lighter, and better suited to the role of a squad automatic weapon. Bren gun, UK. The Bren, widely used in NATO countries, was accurate and reliable, but also limited by its top-mounted magazine. In terms of sustained suppressive fire, the RPD's belt feed gave it an edge. In hindsight, the RPD anticipated the squad automatic weapon concept that the US and NATO would not fully adopt until decades later. Global proliferation and combat use. Like many Soviet weapons, the RPD spread across the globe. It was exported to Warsaw Pact nations, China, where it was produced as the Type 56 LMG, and to numerous revolutionary movements. Its presence was felt in Korea from 1950 to 1953. North Korean and Chinese forces used the RPD extensively against UN troops. Vietnam, 1960s to 1970s, the RPD became a symbol of communist firepower used effectively in ambushes and jungle warfare.